Hello, aspiring programmers. This is the introduction to the first part of the Python Bootcamp. All programming languages are designed to give humans a way of requesting computers to carry out tasks. For the purpose of this course, we will not be going into the details of how low-level computer operations are carried out. It is acceptable at this level to take for granted that if you write a program using Python, the operations that occur in the background just happen, and you can focus on writing code that provides an output on your screen. If you're interested in the mechanics of low-level computer operations, there is a link below in the description of this video to a GCSE bite-sized article that is a good start. This is not mandatory for the course and will not be something that you expected to have gained as a learning outcome by the master's course, but if you're interested, then it's a good place to start. So, programming syntax. It is true that once you have learned one language, you will find it easier to learn others. This is true with all programming languages. There are several concepts in programming that form the basis of all operations you will ever want to and need to carry out. A programming syntax is simply a fancy way of describing how commands are typed and laid out. For Python, we refer to the syntax as a strongly and dynamically typed. We will cover this during the bootcamp, and it will become clear as to why this is important. Moving on to the installation. For the purpose of this bootcamp, you do not have to install Python, but it is highly recommended that you familiarize yourself with the basic techniques that will set you up in a position to be able to use Python throughout the master's course. Following this guide on the Python website will help you download and install a local copy of Python so you can unlock the potential power of this wonderful toolset. There is a link reference below the video in the description to the beginner's guide on the Python official website. So, getting started, you can see here this is an overview of the first part of the Python website documentation. For the purpose of this tutorial video, I will go straight through the links to install Python and take you through the process of how to get it onto your computer as a local copy. So starting here, we click this Python for Windows page, assuming you're on Windows. If you are not, then you can find the Python for Mac OS and also for Linux down here. There are other distributions available. So going forwards, we've got two versions of Python, 3.85, which is the latest version of Python 3, and the latest version of Python 2, 2.718. We will use 3.85. We generally use this for most operations. It's the latest up to date and it integrates with a lot of the latest packages and libraries. For the purpose of this course, we'll be using Python 3.85. So, assuming that you are using Windows, you should get a similar page for other operating systems such as Linux and Mac OS. But for the purpose of this, we will use the 64-bit executable installer. So Python has finished downloading. We'll simply run the file as it is and go through the steps to install. We'll keep everything standard for this installation, but we'll also tick this option at the bottom which adds the path to Python so Windows can see that you have it installed and it can be used in areas such as the command line interface, which we'll run through later on in the tutorial. So we will use the default installation, but we won't worry about the custom installation for now. Now the setup has been successful, we'll click this Disable Path Length Limit, which allows Python to add the whole path to the Windows environment. So after this point, we can now go to the Start menu and type in CMD. This will bring up a command prompt option here. You may be familiar with the command prompt already. In Mac OS and Linux, we refer to this as the terminal. You can access the terminal from Mac OS by typing terminal into the Spotlight search and open the terminal applications, or navigate to the applications folder, then open utilities, and you will see the terminal application there. For Unix and Linux variants, if you are using Linux, then you likely already know how to do this, but in essence, terminal is generally used to describe the command line interface. So moving on to testing the installation. If you have successfully installed Python, you will be able to open your command line interface. You will be able to open the command line interface and type Python. You should see something along the lines of this. So as you can see, it's picked up Python 3.8.6, which is a release candidate 1. Then below, you can see 3 chevron icons, which is your actual interpreter interface for Python. This is where we can type in commands. As a side note, there are useful resources that are available online. All good programmers will document their code and use resources online to check they are using items in the correct manner. This resource is a very useful reference if you ever forget or need to find a relevant tool set within Python under the W3 Schools website. There is a link below called w3schools.com/Python. The left-hand menu gives an overview of all the fundamental tools available within Python. I highly recommend that you use this website as a reference for syntax programming, as it is laid out very logically and very clearly. It should help complement this bootcamp.